This conference will now be recorded.
Okay. Good morning, friends. In this Business Intelligence Master Program, this is the session. In this session, we are going to talk about until activity. Okay. Basically, in today's session, we are going to use until activity to copy data from REST API to the Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2. So let's say you have a requirement where people like maybe your customer has asked you to pull the data from REST API to the Data Lake Storage Gen 2 from 2010 to 2020 or 2019 to 2020. There is a some time, right? So they will tell last one month of data, or last 1 year data, last 4 months data, or last 4 years of data. Can you just pull data into the Data Lake Storage Gen 2 from the REST API? So if they tell like that, what we need to do is, you can also use for each. But for each, if you want to use, what you need to do is, you need to fix the your target. Let's say how many iterations you need to do, you need to fix it. But if you go with until activity, there are two cases. You can just go with unlimited. So maybe until particular condition becomes true, you can keep on iterating. Okay, let's say you don't care about how many days of data, but simply you want to run your HTTP 30 times. Okay, so something like that. If you want to do anything, you have a limit or you don't have a limit until something becomes true. You want to keep on iterating, then you need to go with the until activity. Until activity, what it is going to do? So until the condition becomes true, it will keep on running. What it means is, if the condition until activity is false, then it will execute all the inside activities. Okay, so if condition again false, then it will execute all the activities which are there inside. When the condition is a true in until activity, the execution will stop there itself. Okay, please understand the until behavior. Until will execute until the condition becomes false. Okay, so sorry, until condition becomes true, your until activity keep on executing. Example, first time, my until activity is until available is true false, then it will execute. Again it is false, it will execute all the inside activities. Again false, it will execute all the inside activities. Suddenly next, when you verify the condition becomes true, then execution stop. Until becomes true, until the condition becomes true, until activity will keep on executing. So if it is false means it will keep on executing until it becomes true. Okay, remember this is important. The behavior of until activity you need to understand. Okay, next, in today's session we will learn scenarios, what is the REST API estimations, prerequisite, required resources. If you remember, we have discussed all these things in our earlier session, but today we are going to talk about until activity. With until activity, how you can do this demo, how to get REST API URL. Okay, how to create ADLS Gen 2. So we discussed all these things. Create Azure Data Factory V2, create Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2 linked service with key vault using integration runtime. Create REST API linked service with key vault using integration runtime. Create dataset, create pipeline, run pipeline with the trigger, monitor pipeline. Okay, so these are the things we are going to do, friends. Okay, these are the things we are going to do. So I hope all of you know what it means, each point, right? So let's discuss what are the scenarios we will cover in today's session. We are going to cover the scenarios like copying data from different REST API URLs. So we know, right, dynamically we are going to pass the values. These values will be appended to the URL. So that's how we are going to form the different URLs. So from different URLs, we will copy the data. Next, we will see how to create REST API URLs dynamically. How you will create it? By using linked service parameters. By using linked service parameters, you are going to dynamically create the REST API URL. Next, how to create linked service parameters. So we have seen already how you can create the linked service parameter. Today, we are going to see again how you can create the linked service parameter. Then we will see how to create dataset parameter. You know, almost 90% of the training we have used dataset parameters. Then we are also going to use the pipeline parameter today. Next, copy data from REST API to Data Lake Storage Gen 2. Okay, before I move to the yes, you remember, so pipeline parameter also we have used most of the time. Okay, next we will see by fetching data from REST API, where we will load is in cloud Data Lake Storage Gen 2. We will load all this data. Okay, next, in today's session we will use until activity, copy activity, if activity, set variable activity. So these are the activities which we are going to use in today's session. Okay, fine. REST URL for this lab. You remember last time also I have used this one only. This is some online REST API URL which is completely free. Okay, you just have to access it. So only thing is this ID I will keep on changing. Let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sorry, something like that. You will have 1, 2, 3, 4. So up to some 200 URLs it will support. Okay. Now what you need to do? You need to pass this ID dynamically. Maybe for my until activity, what I will do, a until activity, can you just execute from 100 to 105? So this REST API URL, can you create to do /100 to do /115? So those five iterations can you do? So until activity will do. When the condition becomes true, when the ID reach to 105, then execution it will stop. Okay, when condition becomes true, then it will stop our pipeline execution. Okay. Next, data flow diagram. You see, this is very important. So in today's session, okay, when I go to the lab, right, so I will create two variables, that is current ID equal to 100, temp ID equal to 100. So these are the variables we will create in a pipeline level. Okay, variables current ID equal to 100, temp ID equal to 100. Next, PP final ID. So PP means pipeline parameter. I will create the final ID. I will give 105. So what it means is basically what I'm trying to do. Can you query REST API from 100 to 105, meaning /100 /104 /102 /103 /104 /105. Okay. Likewise, I want to query all the all the IDs. Okay, 100 to 105. After 105, I don't want to execute. That's why my final ID, I will pass it by using pipeline parameter. But my variables, I will use current ID and temp ID. There are two variables I'm going to use. Now my until activity condition is something like this. @equals int variables. See, my until activity condition is @equals int variable of current ID. See, variable of current ID. What is the current value of current ID? So this is the variable. So how you will access this variable current ID value is variable of current ID. Then it will give you 100. But this 100 will be there by default in a string format. To convert the string format in int, what I'm doing, int of this I'm giving. Now there is the integer value. This integer value is how much? 100. 100 is equal to 0. 100 is equal to 0, friends. Equals of 100 comma 0. Both are not equal, so false. So when it becomes false, you create copy activity. Let's try to copy data from REST API to the data lake storage gen 2. So you know how you can create source data set, destination data set. Then, so this copy activity wants to increase. Now what we need to do? We need to increase this current ID value, right? Because for 100, we have increased. Now I need to increase this 100 value to 101. How to do that? Before you do that, you need to check whether the current ID is equal to 105 or not. See, so by using if activity, what I would do equals variable of current ID. So as I mentioned earlier also, this current ID value will be there in a string. You need to convert into int. Next, whether this particular value, what is the current ID value now? Currently it's 100. What is the final ID? It's a 115. 100 is equal to 150? No. So both are, if you check whether both are equal, it will return a false. So you will have a true and a false activities. So if it is true, if the current ID is 15 and final ID also 15, right? So sorry, 105. Current ID is 105. Final ID is 105. Then it will become true. When it becomes true, you can say set variable current ID equal to 0. So I will reset. I will use set variable activity to reset my variable, that is current ID value. I will reset it to 0. When I will reset it to 0, when my current ID becomes 105. So my current ID is 105, my final ID is 105, both are equal, then it will return true. When it is returned true, current ID is 0. When you go to the next iteration, so until activity will check current ID is 0. Yes, this is true. Execution will stop there itself. But you need to understand, currently value 100 I have copied. Now current ID is 100. 100 is equal to 105. Final ID, pipeline parameter final ID is 105. Current ID is 100. 100 is equal to 105. False. So if it is a false, I need to increase the current ID value. So you cannot directly go and increase the current ID value. That's why we need to use a temp ID. See what I'm going to do is, so for temporary ID, temp ID variable, I will just increase the one. How I am doing? See, first current ID variable value I'm converting into int. After that, I'm using a add function. Okay, add for this 100, 1. I want to add 1. So it will give total 101. This 101 you cannot assign as it is as a int to the temp ID. You need to convert back to the string. That's why I'm using again string. Okay, this 101 I will assign to the temp ID. Now this is what temp ID is what 101. This temp ID value I will assign to the current ID by using another set variable. This set variable I will use to assign this temp ID value to current ID. Can you tell me what is temp ID now? Temp ID is currently 101. So that 101 value I will assign to the current ID. This is the first iteration is completed. Now come here, until activity will check, and okay, full iteration is completed. What is current ID? What is current ID? 101. 101 is equal to 0? No. So it's a false again. So you will come here, you will copy data from 101 like REST API ID 101 data to the data lake storage into. Then you will check whether 101 is equal to 105. False. Come here, increase the 101 to 102. Okay, temp ID I will increase from 101 to the 102. Now here that 102 value I will assign to the current ID. Now come back here, 102 is equal to 0. No, false again. Come to copy activity, execute copy activity. Once copy activity is finished, okay, then come here, 102 is equal to 105. No, right? So come to false, 103, yes, and 103. 103 is equal to 0. No, false. Copy, increase to 104. 104 is equal to 0. No, execute 104. 104 is equal to 105. No, increase to 105. Come here, 105 is equal to 0. No, 105 we execute for 105. Come here, 105 is equal to 105. Yes, true. Then you reset current ID equal to 0. Okay. Now go here. What is the current ID value now? What is the current ID value? Can you tell me? Anybody? What is current ID value?
0, sir.
0. So 0 is equal to 0? Yes, true. So when this until activity becomes true, execution stops there itself. Okay. How many of you clear on this? How many of you clear on this, friends? Because exactly same like this, I'm going to implement the pipeline.
Clear, Malaya.
Clear, Malaya.
Anybody need one more time explanation? Please let me know, friends. Everybody's clear. Vinod clear.
Clear, sir.
Shivara, Manohar, Bharat, Bhargav Reddy.
Clear, Malaya. Thank you.
Fine. So now you see first 100, 101, 102, 103, 104, 105, something like that. One by one I will pass. Okay. Fine. Now, how to copy data from REST API to ADF agent? You know, copy activity. What you will have? You need to have a REST API source. Then you will have a destination data lake storage into. Then you will create a linker service to source, and you will create the input data set. Once you create input data set, then you will use copy activity, right? So then you fetch the data from source where you want to load it in data lake storage. So to point to particular folder, you will create an output data set. Then we need to, before we load data into data lake storage, we need to create a linker service. We need to have a connections, right? So I will connect to the data lake storage generator. And then in this particular folder, I will, like when I execute this pipeline, this data will come and sit here. Okay, this can be done in two ways. One is by using Azure integration runtime, another one is self-hosted integration runtime that I have shown you practically. Next, by using Azure Data Factory, we are going to manage all these things. Now, dynamic linker service. How to create dynamic linker service? So this particular script you can able to copy paste, and that's how you can able to create the linker service. Okay, so here you see whatever URL we are using, it's a anonymous connection, meaning it won't accept any username and password because it's an online free URL, right? So that's why you don't need to enter username and password, but in real time you will have a username and password. If you have username and password, how you can make username and password also dynamic? Here you see URL I am receiving dynamically by using linked service parameter. See, parameters equals to base URL, that parameter, linked service parameter I'm using here to pass the URL dynamically to this particular uh, REST API linked service. But if we have username and password also, then you see username mostly we will pass it directly, and password we will read it from the keyword. So if you want to read something from the keyword, you need to do something like this. We talked about all these things in detail. See here, parameters are username, secret name, and the base URL. These are the linked service parameters. Okay, we'll see that. Next, estimations, we know how many linked services we need. So one linked service is required for all APIs in ADF v2, ADL Gen 2 one linked service. Data sets we need depends on reference points. Activities, we need a one copy activity to copy data from REST API to ADL Gen 2. Until activity we need iterate through different URLs. One pipeline I will use. And what type of IR we need to use? Basically, we can use Azure integration runtime or self-hosted IR. Okay, required resources. Okay, what is the REST API? Okay, then what is data lake storage Gen 2? What is key vault? What is schedule trigger? What is the Azure data factory integration under types, linked service, data set, activities, pipeline? So each and everything we discussed in detail. Okay, fine. Let's go to required resources. You see, we need REST API, we need data lake storage Gen 2, key vault, and the Azure data factory v2. Okay, so these are the things we need. Auth is basic means what, Pawan? We need to enter username and password. Password I am going to read from the
I got
keyword.
it, but today when I'm doing lab, right, like I got one doubt. So usually when the authentication is basic, you will store the will create a key vault and will store the password and will call that linked service, right? But
Yes,
why we need to give the secret number also? That I got a little bit of confusion actually. Why we need that?
we need to give secret as a parameter.
Okay. Uh, Maybe when we see in the lab, I can get more information. Yeah, we can proceed. Yeah.
Okay. So REST API, data lake storage, and keyword, data factory v2. Okay. So these are the resources we need. REST API, we know we have already URL, and I'm going to create a data lake storage into keyword and a data factory v2. Okay, these three services I will go and create. Let's go and create those three. Come here. Let's click on storage account first. Let's click add to create the storage account. Okay, resource group, create new. Click OK. So you know, free trial subscription account name I'll say cloud funded. Click git configuration, all those things you know. In advanced, you see it's a enabled. Okay, hierarchical namespace is enabled. Just click review plus create. Created. Okay. Okay. Next, come here. We have this. Let's come here. And what else we need? Azure data factory, and we need a Azure keyword. Let's create one by one. I have just submitted the deployment for storage account. Now click on data factories. Click add to create the data factories. Resource group is same BI master program. You can say cloud funded BI ADF v2 12. Git configuration. Okay, configure later, click preview plus create. Created. Okay, next come here, portal.azure.com. In this, what else we need? Keywords. Click on keywords. Click add keywords. Resource group is Cloud Pandit BA Master Program. Keyword is Cloud Pandit AKV World 10. Click access policies. Add access policy. Key secret certificate management. Click selected. Principal here I need to add my data factory name. Cloud Pandit BI ADF V2 World 10. Select this. Click select. Click add. Then click to be present. Okay, click create. So data factory is ready, storage account is also ready. Let's go to storage account. Come down, click on containers. Okay, see, I don't have any data. So even I don't want to create any folders, anything, because everything should be done like from the Azure data factory. Next, go to access keys because I want to store access keys in the Azure keyword. So show keys, copy this into Azure keyword. But if you come down, you see you have something called shared access signature. In data lake storage Gen 2, we have not used shared access signature, right? But you can go and use the shared access signature as well. Okay. Okay. For now, go to access keys and let's store the access key itself. Copy this ID key. Come to Azure keyword. Go to resource. Click on secrets. Click generate/import. Let's keep this one ADLS key.
Malay, your screen got stuck.
Everybody is having same issue, friends.
No, sir.
No, Pawan, I think issue from your end. So yeah, I am able to see there is no issue. Fine. So you see ADLS key, I have kept it in keyword. Now go to data factory, go to resource, click author and monitor. Click on manage. Okay, let's click linked service for our Azure keyword. Select Azure keyword, click continue. Select subscription, select your Azure keyword, then test connection. Connection is successful, you can create it, then you need to publish it, right? You need to publish this particular linked service before you use it in other linked services, right? So yeah, let's create a one second. That's okay, I just forgot to rename it. Fine, let it be. Now you just use Gen 2 linked service. Okay, this is the Gen 2. This is LS for ADLS Gen 2 Azure account key. Like I need to enter manually because if you go with subscription, this Azure keyword option will not come, right? So that's why I will go with enter manually. Storage account key I will get it from the Azure keyword. Select the Azure keyword link to service. Secret name is ADLS key. Now URL we need to form. If you want to form the URL, go to storage, take the storage name from here, https://storage.dfs.4.window.net test connection, spelling mistake, sorry, Windows test connection successful, you can create it. Now, so now what we need to do is we need to get the URL. Okay, REST API URL I need to get. So REST API URL, so I already have shown you REST API URL. You can able to go to the Google and you can just say free REST API URLs. Otherwise, I just copied the REST API URL. You just try it here. See, if I say 1, I will get 1. Okay, ID is 1. See, okay. When I say it is 2, you see you got something 2, ID 2. If you say this is 3, you'll get 3, right? So this ID I will pass it later. Okay, this entire URL I want to pass it later. Okay, now I want to create a linked service, but this linked service I am going to create with parameters. Come here, say REST, select REST, click continue. This is REST API, right? ls iframe REST API. Okay, now base URL I want to make it dynamic, and username and password we don't have because the basic we are going with anonymous access because it's an online REST API, right? Okay, next base URL also I want to pass dynamically. For that, click on this parameters, click new. This is, I can say, base URL. Okay, so come here, click add dynamic content. That particular base URL parameter will be available. Just select it. That's all. Okay, now if you want to test this, click test connection. You need to pause the URL here. Okay, maybe you can pass it with 1 or without this. Okay, without 1, I'm just passing up to do's. Just click OK. It will tell you whether the connection is successful or not. See, connection successful. You just test it, right? So create it. So this is how we are going to create the source and the sync linked services. Come to author tab. If you want to see clearly, just click on see. Here you can see it's a manage tab. It's monitor, author and data factory. Okay, it's author tab. Now create a pipeline. This is basically EL for data movement until some condition becomes true. I need to do it. Okay, so first thing, create a one parameter. This is pp final ID, pipeline parameter final ID. Default value I will say 105. Okay, variables I will create 2 variables. One is current ID, one is temp ID. Okay, next. So default values for both is 100, 100. Both is 100. Okay. Now, first activity we need to use is until activity. Come here, just take the until activity. Just come here. See here, I need to say some condition. What is the condition I'm going to say? See, add dynamic content. Just to do something. I want to check equals. So I first use equals. You have equals, right? Equals, right? Just click on this equals. In this, what you want to do, what should be equal? Current ID. See, current ID, when I select variable of current ID, when this current ID value should be equal to 0. But as I mentioned, this current ID value by default it will be in a string. I will explain you. See, come back, click on this open canvas. You see string, because you cannot select here int type. But for pipeline parameters we have int. You can select int. Okay, this is possible, but for variables this is not possible. We have only string, array, boolean. So by default it will be string. So you need to convert the string value. Okay, let me just start again. Equals, select equals. In this equals, I need to check my variable current ID value, okay, is equal to 0. But this is a string, this is a int, both will not match it. Never match, right? To convert string value to int, you need to say int. That's all. Okay. See, variable of current ID, I converted in int. So even if you get current ID is 101, 102, or 100, whatever, this will be there by default in a string. I'm converting into int. So what happens? This will be a integer value. It can be 100 or 0 or whatever. Now, whether this current ID is 0 or not, when this condition becomes true, until activity will not execute inside activities. Okay, until this condition becomes true, this will not execute. But current value is how much, friends? Current value of current ID is how much? Check it here. Current ID is 100. Okay, so this condition becomes false. So I will go inside this. Okay, just to use copy activity. When this condition is false, I want to use the copy activity. Just to bring the copy data activity. Okay, copy data. REST API 2 ADLS. Fine. Now source. Let's click new. What is our source? Source is REST API. Select REST. Click continue. That's all. So you just open this data set, source data set. You need to select the linked service which you have created. Okay, this is the linked service I have created. Now base URL. Okay, base URL is nothing but this particular base URL also I want to pass it from the pipeline. So come back. Friends, voice is fine or voice is breaking?
It's fine.
Fine, sir.
You have issues, friends. Okay, take care. Fine. See, just create one more pipeline parameter. This is basically for the base URL. Okay, base URL. It's a PP for base URL. The default value, I'll just use this. Base URL default value is this. Now go inside this, copy activity, source data set I'm opening. So here you see, we have created a base URL as linked service parameter. To that, I need to pass the value. How you will pass is, for that, if you want to pass the value to the linked service parameter, we need to create a data set parameter. Create here two data set parameter. One is for, it's a data set parameter, DP parameter, data set parameter base URL. Okay. Next, data set parameter ID. Okay, come here. This at this position, what we need to select? Base URL. Data set parameter base URL. Relative URL means the ID, data set parameter ID we need to pass. But these data set parameter, see, first you need to understand, data set parameter you are passing to the linked service. Linked service will use this URL to fetch data from that particular URL. But this data set is passing the URL to the linked service. But how data set parameters are getting the values? Go to your pipeline. Okay, here in copy activity, you see these are waiting to receive data set parameter. DP means data set parameter. These are ready to receive the value. So DP base URL will receive the value from the PP base URL, pipeline parameter base URL. This DP ID will get the value from, okay, DP ID will get the value from the current ID variable. What is the current ID? What is the current ID, friends? Current ID is basically a 100. That 100 value we are passing it. Okay. Now this is clear, because once you set everything at source side, So there is no much things to discuss at sync. Please let me know, is this clear? So hierarchy, I was discussing from the beginning. Hierarchy is you cannot pass the values from pipeline parameter to the linked service directly. You need to pass pipeline parameters to the dataset. Dataset parameters, you need to use it in the linked service. Okay. Anybody need one more time explanation? Please let me know. I will do it. Otherwise, I will just go to the next step, friends. Clear? Everybody's clear?
Yes, sir.
Right, fine. Let's go inside until activity. Copy activity. See, I will just set the sync. Click new. My sync is what? Gen2. Select data like store Gen2. Click continue. CSV. Click continue. This is what? DS4 ADLS Gen2. Oh. When you use this linked service and file system, I'll just say it's a cloud Pandey. But subfolders I want to create based on the ID. If the ID is 100, 100 folder. If it is 101, 100 folder I want to create. So first as a header. So as this folder also not available, you cannot import schema. Click none, then click OK. Now you open your sync data set. Okay. In this, you need to create the dataset parameter. Create dataset parameter. This is dataset parameters for sync ID. Sync ID is exactly same, right? Just click add dynamic content. You just use this dataset parameter. But how dataset parameter will receive the value? Come here now. You see dataset parameter, like dataset parameter sync ID. Okay, we need to pass it here. Add dynamic content. How will pass? Same current ID. I will pass it. Current ID maybe to convert into int and pass it. Even I think you can able to pass it directly. Okay. Fine, let's convert into int and pass it. Okay, no worries. Okay, this is clear. Now click on sync parameter. See, it's a string basically. You convert into int. This int value I am going to use it in the connection here. But it is giving warning because you cannot pass this int values there. You can pass, it will not throw any error basically when it is. But basically this is a string. This string I am using here. Go to the until activity. Here also don't convert into int. Keep as is. Okay. Let's not convert into int. Let's keep it as is. Click finish. Okay. So this is my source and sync. Both values I have passed. Clear now? Okay, I just passed the source data set, syncs data set, like I am copying data from source to sync. Now, what I need to do, I will use the if activity to check whether I need to increase my current ID value or I need to reset my current ID to 0. For that, I need to use the if activity. Just to bring this if condition here. Pass this copy activity value to if condition. In this, you need to check something, right? So I will check, click add dynamic content. So here also you need to check, just check the equals. Select equals, and you just check the current ID value. What is this? The current ID value. This is the current ID value. Whether this current ID value is equal to 105 or not, I want to check. Okay, you understood. This particular variable of current ID value, I need to convert into int. Otherwise, it will not verify. Okay, because it's a string, it is int. That's why this current ID value also I converted into int, and I'm checking both are equal or not. If both are equal, when it returned true, you need to, what you need to do, when the value is, when the current ID is 105, I don't want to proceed further. I want to make until activity condition true. For that, use a set variable activity. Use a set variable activity. Okay. In this, you see which variable you want to reset current ID value. What you want to put 0. That's all. Now come back. If it is a false example, this condition is current ID is 100. This is 105. What we need to do? We need to increase we need to increment the current ID value to 1. How to do that? Go to false. Okay, when it is a 100, it is not matched, it will go to the false condition. Bring the set variable activity itself. Set variable activity. This set variable activity is increment temp variable. Increment temp ID. I'm just incrementing temp ID first. Temp ID will reassign to the current ID. Okay, come to variable, click on this temp ID, because you cannot increment directly current ID. It is not possible. Self-referencing is not possible. That's why click add dynamic content. Now click on you take the current ID value. Okay, this is the current ID. It's what it is, a string. You need to convert into int. Convert it into int. Okay, then I need to add what you want to add. I want to add 1. You understood? See, I just converted current ID to int. Okay, current ID to int, and I added the 1 to this 100. Maybe if the current ID is 100, then I added 1. Then it will become a 101. This finally, this one I need to convert back into the string because it won't support the integer value. So I converted back to the string. This is how I need to increase. Now temp ID will become a 101. This 101 value I need to reset it back to the current ID. Okay, assign temp to current ID. For that, go to variables, use the current ID. This current ID value I will just pass it from the temp ID. That's all I need to do. Okay, that's all I need to do. See, you try to see here, if I try to pass it current ID, it will throw error. What is it is saying? The expression contains self-referencing variable. Variable cannot reference itself in the expression, meaning you cannot increase the value directly to this particular variable. It will not support. That's why use some temporary variable, increase the value from 100 to 101. 101 you assign to the temp ID. This temp ID 101 value you can reassign to the current ID. Okay, let me just explain quickly one more time. Then we will just try to execute our pipeline 2 or 3 times. Then you will come to know. Okay, currently, first click your cursor in the canvas. You see here, you have PP final ID, PP base URL. Base URL means this is a URL I am passing to my linker service, because we have created the linker service parameter. That's why we need to use we need to pass this particular URL to our linker service. How we are passing this PP pipeline parameter value, I will pass it to the DP dataset parameter. From there I will pass it to the LP linker service parameter. So PP DP LP. Remember, from pipeline parameter you assign value to the dataset parameter. Dataset parameter will be assigned to the linker service parameter, but you cannot assign pipeline parameter value directly to the linker service parameter. Okay, final ID is what? 105. PP base URL is this. Come to variables. Current ID is 100, temp ID is 100. Both are 100. Now, one of the interview question people will ask is, what is the difference between pipeline parameters and pipeline variables? You see any change in this? What you have observed here? Can you tell me, friends? Anybody observed anything here between the parameters and variables? Variable, it can vary the value based on your requirement. You can able to vary in the logic, middle of the logic. If you want to reset the value, you want to change the something, you can able to change it. See, variable basically we are taking default value 100, but later we are increasing 101, 102, 103, 104, 105, everything we are increasing. But can we change the parameter values in the middle? No, that is the main difference between the parameters and variables. Please note down, this is one of the interview question people will ask. What is the difference between parameters and variables? Parameters Once you assign the value, you cannot change variables. Once you assign the value, you can able to change in the logic based on your requirement, right? Next one, in parameters, see, it will support multiple data types, not only string, bool, and array. It will also support object, float, int. But in variables, it will support only 3 types: string, boolean, and array. So these are the 2 main differences that you can able to explain to the interviewer. Clear? Now, what is current ID? 100. Temp ID is 100. Maybe in your requirement, maybe you want to copy data from one, like ID 1 to the ID 100, or ID 1 to the ID 200, something like that. You can able to do it. Okay, you just have to pass it here. But let's imagine current ID is 100 here. Final value that I need to execute up to 105. Okay. Until activity, what it is saying? Check it here. At the rate equals int variable of current ID equal to 0. Whether what is current ID? Current ID is 100. 100 is equal to 0. False. When it false, it will go into the copy activity, and here we are passing the pipeline base URL. This pipeline base URL we are passing to the dataset parameters. This dataset parameter value will be passed to the linker service parameter. Next, data like DPID. These two we are using inside the linked service. You see, just open this dataset to see. These two are used in the linked service. So DP base URL, DPID, these two we are using inside linked service. Okay. Now come back. That's how we are able to pass it. Now come to sync. So sync side, I'm just creating a subfolder current ID. Okay. Let's say you are copying 100th ID data, then 100th folder will be created in your target. You see, just open this target data set also. See, DP sync ID. If you are saying current ID is 100, so for current ID 100, you are fetching data from the source. With that 100, inside Cloud Pandit container, 100 folder will be created. 101 folder will be created. 102, 103, 104, 105. So total 6 folders will be created in your Cloud Pandit container. Okay, these are the total 6 subfolders will be created. Into 6 subfolders, respective data will be loaded. Now let's imagine copy activity is successful for 100. Now you have 2 choices, whether you need to stop your execution here or you want to go further. For that, we are going to check if activity. Okay, go to if condition, check. Okay, expression at the rate equals of current ID is 105. Current ID is how much? Current ID is how much, friends? 100. 100 is
100.
equal to 105. False. When it false, go into false. What I'm doing, increment the temp ID. I'm just increasing the temp ID from current ID 100 to, I'm just increasing for current ID 100. I'm adding 1. That will be a 101. 101 I am assigning to the temp ID. This 101 temp ID value I am reassigning back to the current ID only. Now please, everybody, please respond. What is the value of current ID and what is the value of temp ID at this moment after I executed this activity?
Current ID is 101.
Okay, current ID is 101 and your temp ID is also 101 at this moment. Okay, so once it is incremented, now it will come back to the until activity and it will check. Okay, it will check here. Again, until activity, it will check. Okay, so whether current ID 101 is equal to 0, no, false. Again false, go inside, it will just copy the data. Again this condition also becomes false, right? Because it's a 105. When it is 105, the condition will becomes true. So again you will go inside and now you will increase from 100. Click on this. So here what you will do, this is 101. You will for 101 you will add 1, meaning it will be a 102. Temp ID is 102. That 102 you will assign to the current ID. That will be a 102. Come back. Okay. Now it will be 105. Let's imagine 105. Whether 105 is equal to 0. Whether 105 is equal to 0. No. False. That is also. Go here. You will copy for 105. Okay. For 105 ID you will copy data. Then you will check here whether current ID is 105. Yes, true. When this condition becomes true, you will go inside true. You will go inside true. here what you will do, you will reset the current ID to 0. When you reset the current ID to 0, what happens? When you reset the current ID to 0, what happens? When you check the until activity, current ID is 0. Yes, it is true, it will stop here itself. Okay, but I have made a small change we need to make here. 105, I don't want to hard code. I don't want hard code, right? So I want to pass it from pipeline parameter. We already created pipeline parameter. Let's use the pipeline parameter. The pipeline final ID. Okay, let's use this final ID. So because final ID is the 105, you remember. Just to explain clearly, I have hard coded, but when you are executing, you need to use the pipeline parameter. Now let's debug first time. If everything works, then we can publish. See, these are the default values. So yes, I want to keep these are the default values as it is. Click OK. If it is working, then we can do scheduling and all those things. So until activity started, until activity will becomes false first time, it is started with the copy activity. Copy activity successful. And yeah, so it is assigning the value to temp variable. The reason is it's a not a 105. And reassigned, see, assigned a temp to current ID. Okay, this is done. Again, until activity, it is calling the copy activity again for the next ID. Which ID? Not here. You see here, what is the current ID is assigned. See, current ID is 101 here. Next, when you go here, what is the current ID here? See, current ID is 102 because it is keep on increasing up to 105. We'll see. So these folders will create in a data lake storage. Okay, let's go to overview. Go inside this containers. Cloud. Go inside cloud. You see 105 folder also will come soon. See, 105 folder also came, but 100, 101, 102, 103, 104, 105. But remaining folders will not come because pipeline is succeeded. Only up to 105 only it will execute. Just to check the final one. Final. See here what happens at the final when if condition becomes true, set variable activity resetted the current ID to 0. When current ID is 0, what until activity will do? Until activity when becomes, it will stop the execution. Okay, it is working. Okay, what I wanted to do, let's publish all. Click publish. Okay, it is published, right? Now I will schedule it. Okay, just new. Okay, let's click new. So this is basically a schedule trigger. Let's not worry because we need to make small changes. I will tell you all those things. Schedule. Schedule trigger. I want to schedule pipeline at what is current time? 7:55. I will just make it at 5:58. 7:58. Okay. I will tell you the reason. 7:58 a.m. Click OK. So in which time zone? I want it in a India time zone. Select India time zone, and every like daily once I want to execute. Daily once I want to execute. Sorry, daily once. Next, specify end date. So specify end date. So what date I want to execute? Let's say 11/2/24 instead of that. Yeah, let it be, no issue. It will execute only one time if you put this time also, right? Now click yes, click OK. Then you see here, so it is not showing properly, no problem. Click OK for now. Again, you click edit. Now you just click on this. Now go to click OK. Now it will show properly. Okay, see pipeline ID pp base URL. I want to pass it. So base URL, this is the URL. Okay, this is the URL. I want to pass it through this trigger. Next, final ID. So now I want to, so you already started with what? Our variables are starting with 100. But as of now, I copied up to only 105. So this time I will say 110, 110, meaning again it will start from 100. It will go up to 110. It is not going to stop at 105. It is going with up to 110. As we have already folders. Otherwise, let's do one thing. Come here. Let's delete all these existing folders so that you will see everything new. Okay. Now come here. Okay, this is 110. Click OK. Now 757. Okay, so everything is ready. Just click publish all. Click publish. Still we have 40 seconds. We'll see. So now come to monitor tab. Let's wait 5 more seconds. Click refresh. See, pipeline started executing. Go inside this pipeline. Let's see what is happening. See, until activity started, it is executing copy activity. Refresh this. Okay, here you see copy activity if condition. So if condition became false first time, because here you see here you will not be able to see, but incremental ID you see 101, meaning previously it's a 100. So 100 is equal to 110. No, that's why the condition became false. In false we are assigning the value 101 it became, right? So now refresh it 102. So these changes you can clearly observe here. Refresh this. You see folders will keep creating. 104 created. Now 105 will come soon. So 105 came. So in some time 106 will come. Up to 110. Up to 110 we are creating the folders. Not only creating folders, we will have a data. See 106 came. So we have some time frame, right? So from 2010 to 2020, I want to load the data by using this TP or something, or last 1 month or last quarter or whatever data, it is possible. See 106, 107. Let's finish all the folders, then I will open some folders and show you the data. See 108. See 109 folder came. Finally, you'll be able to see 110. When you see 110, finally, when it executed 110, finally it will use a copy activity. Once this copy activity, see here you see it's a 110. So after 110, for 110 copy activity will finish. When 110 is equal to 110, if condition returns true, then it will use the set variable. What it has set it? It is setting the current ID to 0. When it set the current ID to 0, you know, until condition will become true. When it becomes true, until will stop executing further. See, until is successful. Now come to storage, refresh it, you see total 110 folders. 110. Okay. Now go inside one, click on this file, you will see the data. So in every folder you will have a data respect to data. It's a what folder? It's 100 folder. ID you see, ID is 100. Come back, go back, maybe come down, click on 106, click on this, click edit. Click here, user ID is 6, ID is 106, title is this. See, ID is 106 because you open the 106 folder. Something clear? Any questions?
Clear.
Malaya, can you please go to that keyword link, sorry, the where we created for SAP.
Pawan, keep your mic near. I think we are not able to hear you.
Are you able to hear me now, Malaya?
No, still very, very low.
Are you able to hear me now?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, sorry. So I want to see that linked service for REST API where we created that basic authentication once.
Basic authentication ones, okay.
We did
Basic,
for anonymous, right? Yeah.
basic authentication we created last time, but if you want to create this time, you come here, click new, click on REST API, click continue. So basic, you'll have a basic. You just use 3 parameters. These parameters, let's say keyword. From keyword, you want to pass the secret. So the secret name, username, and base URL. Those 3 things I want to make it as a parameters, right? Just create 3 parameters. You can see here, it's a base URL. This is username. As a kind of a password. Right. So these things you need to use it here. Username here.
What is the for value for the password? From where we'll get it? In the secret name?
Oh my God. Pawan, are you attending all sessions?
Yeah, might be like I'm missing something.
What missing? So secret name, when we are mentioning here, what it means? From where we are getting this password? Can anybody tell me, friends, when I mention secret name here, what it means? From where we are getting this password?
From Azure Key Vault we'll get it.
Very good. So in Azure Key Vault, we will keep the password. That particular thing we are going to read it here. So even so, how, if you are not able to understand this, how you understood this? This one, data lake storage Gen 2. Here also I am reading the secret, right? How I am getting this key here?
So this is this one I understand, because like in Key Vault you this is the Key Vault name when we created, when we in the Key Vault we copied the key and we created the Key Vault name there. This one I understand
Okay.
it, but dynamically one
Dynamically one means, oh, what is, see, here you are going to keep the password, everything in your key vault itself. Just a
correct.
name. Example, ADLS key I have kept here, secret name.
Correct.
A password means it's not a password. Oh, maybe you're confusing with this password. It's not an actual password I will enter. It's just
Okay, now I got it. So this is the name of the Key Vault we created. Got it.
secret name I will use. Just to understand, it's a password. For easy understanding, I just used, but it's basically secret name. You are going to pass secret name dynamically.
So that means in the secret name we will get the ADLS key. The value will be ADLS key, right?
Yes, secret name means ADLS key we will pass. But here REST API key means REST API password means whatever, maybe you come to Azure Key Vault. I have created, maybe I will keep my password here. Yeah, password, I will just enter some password here. I will say here it's a REST API PWD. So then I need to pass secret name as REST API PWD. How you will pass? You need to pass it like you need to use your dataset parameter. With the help of dataset parameter, you need to pass it to the secret name parameter. Then for the dataset parameter, you need to pass it value maybe from the activities or from the pipeline parameter.
Got it.
Any other questions? If no questions, that's all for today, friends. Thank you.